Good afternoon, Tom Ginn, G-Force. G is for gratitude. I just believe gratitude is one of the most powerful words we can incorporate in our lives. Be grateful for all. The littlest things, the cup of coffee that we have in the morning, the flowers, the friends that we have, and be grateful for even the challenges that we have. Because what gratitude does, it changes our perspective, our perspective. It changes our energy. It allows us to negate negativity. And gratitude is a very powerful word. So today, I'm really excited to have on a guest today that I met nearly 4 years ago at a business networking group in our Milwaukee area. And I remember CT, and it was a pretty substantial group, some business leaders and people in business networking together and doing lunch. And I remember CT, and I approached CT, and he was very shy. And today he's no longer a shy young man. So he's come a long way. He's grown, and I'm excited to have him share his story, where he's going, and some of his dreams and some of the challenges and things in his life that hopefully you'll be able to take something from and learn from his life experience, his young life, and a young man of growth. And so with that all said, CT, I'm going to bring you on. Are you ready? You are live, my friend. Glad to have you here.
Yes, thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. So CT, just to get us started here, just share with the audience where you're from, a little bit about your background, your education, your experiences, just some of the things where you are today, where you plan on going, and we'll just take it from there. So it's all yours, my friend.
Yes, I was born and raised in the Milwaukee area. I went to college in the state, graduated in 2012, and then worked for my late father's advertising agency for 5 years. And at the time, when I left college, I wanted to do social media. That's what I thought, social media manager, that sort of thing. And it's funny, too, to look back because, when I started college, that wasn't even a thing. But it just kind of grew more like this is an area I want to explore and would love to do that for, in the business world. And then when I got to Dad's agency, which I had never thought I would ever, work for him for 20 some odd years, I just was like, no, he does, advertising and marketing. I'm more into sports. Like I'll just stay in that lane. But then as time went on in college, I kind of gravitated more and more to the business side and like social media, like I said. And then once I got to the agency, I ended up gravitating more towards the website. So I always knew I wanted to do web design, but I had to kind of work my way up the ladder, so to speak. And, was always the one to, if there was ever an issue or, troubleshooting that needed, I would kind of put my hat in the ring and just, hey, I'll look into it. I'll figure it out. And so much of the website side of things can just be, trial and error and figuring out stuff, on your own. And so every day was different. And I liked that challenge. And then he was diagnosed with a brain tumor summer of 2016 and passed away November 30th of 2016. So it was 62 days from the time of his diagnosis to the time that he passed.
Wow. My heart goes out to you, I know in our conversations in the past, how influential your dad was for you, like so many fathers, but when we look at our own parents, that holds a special place. With your dad, he was what? How old was he when he passed?
56.
56. And is that the picture over your shoulder of your dad?
Yeah, right there.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know he's proud of you, fine young man. But growing up, what was the things that your dad instilled in you? Some of the things that you could just think about and be grateful for. What are some of the things that he instilled you to bring you to where you are today and where you're going to go? What were some of the key things that your dad instilled with you?
Yeah, first off, my parents just, they show me what true love is, unconditional love. And that's something that I hold in high regard. And you look at the world and what's the divorce rate, I mean, like it's bananas. So that's just something that I always hold, near and dear to my heart. But just, a real humble attitude. He treated everybody the same, whether it was an executive or a janitor, it didn't matter. Showed me the importance of relationships, personally and professionally. I know we've talked about that in the past, and that's really important to me. Just the right way to do business and treat people the right way. There's a couple of things.
Okay. Those are really strong things. Humility. I think that's important in being humble. And, this morning I did a little talk. I just, not to take your thunder, but I did some points out of the ABCs of attitude, and every day I'm doing something, and it's sort of appropriate that one of the most important things you said is humility. Namaste means I bow to you. That's humility, and that's a great thing to have. In business, one of the things that we see is a lot of people don't have humility. It's all about them and their ego. So I think I see that in you. So what did he teach you about relationships? What was the thing that helps you build relationships?
Yeah, I think it was just the genuine nature. It's, to me, looking back on it now, I wish I would have known this, 10, 15 years ago. But to me, my intuition is one of my biggest gifts. And so, like, I can tell from a mile away if somebody's BSing me or if they're genuine. And just seeing the way that he would work with clients, or just, just friends and people in general. Everybody had the same view of him, and just, very authentic in that way. And so that's, that's important to me. That's kind of how I live my life. Like I'm just me. So whether we're in this setting or, you and I are meeting for coffee, you're getting the same CT. And so I think that's something that he instilled in me, and I try to take that with me as I go.
Okay. Do you have brothers or sisters?
I have 3 sisters and no brothers.
So growing up with sisters, I could relate to that. I had 2 growing up myself. So what are their ages and what do they do and that type of thing? Just so people have a sense of your family background.
Yeah. I have a twin sister that has cerebral palsy, and then I have 2 younger sisters that are college aged.
Okay. And cerebral palsies, growing up with that in your environment. What has that taught you, having a sibling, having that type of health condition?
Yeah.
What did you learn from that? What is something you want to share with the audience? Then we'll get into you a little bit.
You don't want to judge a book by its cover. I don't know what it's like to have a sibling without a disability. And so, like, I wouldn't change that for the world. But you just want to be able to treat everybody the same, like I just talked about, and whether they have a disability or not. And sometimes you can visually see that, and other times you can't. It's kind of hidden in the background, but you just treat people the right way, the same way. And I think that was always something early on that I always kind of took with me.
Yeah. It instills a perspective of gratitude, right? A perspective of gratitude. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about, so you came out of college, mm-hmm. and you said something about sports. So you said maybe you'd stay in that lane. What did that mean? Were you an athlete, or were you looking maybe just to be in the sports arena in business and sales,
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
what
no,
was
so I was really big on sports broadcasting. I wanted to do like Sirius XM kind of stuff. And the more I went through college, and that was like the goal all through high school. So like I was pretty focused all the way through and obsessed or passionate, however you want to phrase it, or maybe both, about sports my whole life. Um, but as I got through college, I just realized that was more of a side thing. It felt like a side thing. It didn't feel like a real, stable career. And you work the 3 odd, shifts to, make ends meet, and you grind away for 10 years until you kind of hit the pros, or, in a nutshell, that can kind of be the trajectory. And I'm like, that's not what I want. And then I would say, I always believe that everything happens for a reason. And I really strongly believe it, with everything that happened with Dad and passing away when he did, because at that point, for like that next year, it was like, who gives a rip about sports? Like it just doesn't matter, in the scope of life. And I feel like if I would have gone down that path, and have been immersed in that in whatever form or fashion that would have taken, I really would have just lost all, love for the job, because it really changed my perspective.
okay? So you recognize that was a path that it was more of a hobby and a interest in that type of thing, and that's great because I think it's also led to where you're at today with some of the things you're doing here. We'll talk about here in a moment. But so when you went to work for your dad and his agency, what did he specialize?
Yeah, so it was a full service advertising agency. So they did everything from print to digital, the more traditional media, to websites, social media, search engine optimization, all the ongoing marketing efforts. And when I started, they were just sort of getting into the web. They had 5 websites that they had built and managed. And then clients started coming to them going like, hey, they wanted to get more out of the website. So my dad had hired a head web guy about 6 months prior to me graduating. And that was like, hey, he's getting bogged down. He needs an assistant. Do you want to come on board? So I always say the first year and a half, it was like a paid internship, because I was really just learning the ropes of all that kind of behind the scenes, the search engine optimization and all those different things to get the websites to show up where they need to.
Okay. When I started my business, I just was winging it and using the plug and plays, drop and drags. And, I call them electronic brochures more than anything else. But, I appreciate what you've done for me as a client of yours, taking and revamping and creating a website. So what type of certifications, what type of things do you do with websites that might, separate you from somebody else? And I think what you do and how you do it is important, but equally as important why you do what you do. What do you bring to the table as a website developer or administrator, whatever the roles that you play with that website owners interfacing?
Yeah, I've had so much experience from Dad's agency, and also seeing how other agencies operate, or other web companies. And one of my big goals is to be able to provide a really personalized service that's unmatched. And so, like, you can attest to it. On a Friday at 8 p.m. when you're emailing me with some random little change, boom, I'm there to do that. It doesn't really matter when or where. I really believe in that location independence, and as long as I have Wi-Fi, the business works. But I've seen so many where they get outsourced to the other side of the globe, and then there's really no human to human interaction. So from that standpoint, like that's what makes me different. Is I want to be able to really create that deep relationship with each client that I serve, and I always say for the lifetime of their website. Like if you create your website the right way, you technically never need to redesign it, as long as you keep improving and you're doing the back end stuff to make sure that it's running optimally. Obviously, there's cases if you're revamping services, products, your whole business, whatever. But I'm just saying in the general sense, if you're doing all the right things, you don't need to be, reinvesting every X amount of years to redesign it, because it'll just keep working for you.
Okay. So what are what's the primary disciplines you use in web development? What are some of the platforms you use? And just share a little bit there.
Sure. Yeah.
Pros and cons, whatever.
Yeah, I specifically use the WordPress platform. So that powers all the websites that I build. And then WordPress will have what's called a theme. And that's kind of you could think of it as like a skin that goes over WordPress or goes over the back end to give the website the look and feel that it has. And so I use a theme called Avada, Avada, and it's the #1 best-selling theme. So my reason for doing that is I love it because it's very versatile. But the second point to it is that if I was to fall off the face of the earth tomorrow, there's hundreds of thousands of other web designers or developers that use that theme, that you're not held hostage with some custom programmed site that nobody knows how to manage or update or tweak besides myself. And now I'm no longer here. What are you going to do? So I really always am trying to look at that long-term view and make sure that the website works for the client right now, and then it grows with them as their business grows.
That brings a question I have for you. Doing website development, people's things change. Their business may change, circumstances change. They may want to pull out of the business and come back. Or so when you set up a website, and I know this in our relationship, in our agreement, is if I decide to leave you, or you leave, or you're no longer doing this business, you set it up that I have what? Full access to
the back end. Yep. You have full access. So whenever I launch a website, the client gets full access. So again, if I was to fall off the face of the earth, I'm hit by a bus tomorrow, they're not held hostage. And obviously that differs between clients, because sometimes the client wants to, I want to control the domain name and control this and whatever. And other times they want to be completely hands off and just have me do it. But the point is, regardless of what form or fashion that takes, they'll always have full access to everything, and they're not going to be tied down if I was to be unavailable.
Is that pretty much I own it versus a license?
I've seen the horror stories. There was a client I worked with early on that they wanted to move away, and their now old web company, their current company at the time, was charging some exorbitant amount of money to transfer their site away. And it's like, literally, I could do it in about 3 seconds if you just give me this login, and they wouldn't do it until the client paid. So there's different stories like that, and that's not unusual. Like, I've heard a bunch of horror stories like that. So it's not just the personalized service. It's really just trying to streamline every aspect of it and make sure that your back is covered in any form or fashion.
What questions would, if I was looking to talk to you, what are good questions that a person is looking to have a website? What would be some of the key questions I would ask to make sure that I'm got somebody competent? Number two, that I have ownership, what are the questions that somebody should ask?
Yeah, I think from the expertise side of it, to make sure that they're going to build something that's going to work for you, I would always ask for examples of their past work. And if there's ones in your particular field, your particular industry, that's even better. But I always tell clients, like, it's agnostic in my world. I can create a website for a plumber, the same as an artist, the same for a therapy practice, a gym. It doesn't matter. But having those real life examples is good. Having the testimonials or the recommendations, the references, so that the person is who they say they are and does the work that they say they're going to do. On the back end side of things, I would really just be clear as to who's going to manage this once it's launched. What logins would you give me? What control do you have? Just to try to get it black and white. And I guess that's just how I work. I'm super black and white, and so I make that I always want to be as transparent as upfront as I can. And maybe that's different, but I mean, it's obviously different for everybody, but that's kind of how I work. Those would be like the general, top level things I would ask for.
Okay. And I'm just going to one more question, then we'll move into where you're at today, where you're going, and some of the things that you're visioning with your brand and what you're doing and that type of thing, because I really want to get to that. But I think the audience needs to hear just some real fundamental things because, I remember years ago when I was selling long distance data networking for a company in the Colorado area, is that the internet was like, what? What is it? What's a website? Everybody's got to have one, right? But things evolve, technology has evolved. But what have you seen as a trend that people should be focusing on in building their site? A lot of things right now is going video. How much video should a website have? I know you can overwhelm people with content. How do you help a person best assess content versus videos or vice versa? What would be a good recommendation? Because people want to, I don't know, call it be entertained, but how can you captivate them?
Yeah, you want to engage. They want to be engaged.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I would say, video is important. I would say paramount to that, though, is just to be able to personalize the site. So whether there's always going to be a combination of text or copy, videos, images, whatever it might be. It's just to really personalize it. Like on your site, we have that why video and it's super personalized to you, and that's going to grab people's attention. Versus the site being, all this stock imagery, and there's no real like human to human feel with it. And then, but to go back on the video side, I do love video, and it's obviously powerful and engaging. From a testimonial standpoint, I always say that, one video testimonial is as good as like 50 written nowadays. My one caveat or worry with video, especially like on a homepage, I don't know if this is as prominent now, but like a couple years back, I feel like it was more of a thing, to have like a full width video going across the top of the website. Perfectly fine. The only issue is on mobile devices that can really, cause a lag and cause a speed issue. So it could be perfectly fine if you do that on desktop, but then maybe on mobile, it's just like a background image or something if you don't actually have the video, or you embed the video from YouTube so that the user can play it versus like an auto starting, which I think can startle some people.
Okay. All right. And with videos, and of course, quality is going to be good lighting, good backdrops. I see some of these videos being done with the electronic green screen, and they fade in that like they're a ghost.
Yeah.
That is so annoying. So if I was a consultant, I said avoid, if you need a backdrop or whatever, use a real live green screen. Because that's what I use. I don't use that it's like a ghost flowing in and out. Because that is, to me, that is not professional. Quality's not there, and it's extremely annoying.
Whatever you're gonna do, like just do it professional. Whether it's photos, images, the whole thing, or even the copy. What I've found is that we're always so invested, and I've even done this for my own site. Like we're so invested in our business that it's hard for us to be able to objectively, write it. So it's so much better to have, a professional copywriter who can take all your ideas and philosophies and all that and kind of merge them all together into a cohesive site, and really, speak to that end consumer, that end, client that you want to be getting in front of.
Okay. Well, that's sort of your history, where you're at, and some of your expertise in that, and I appreciate that because we want to make sure that people know that your competency and that where you're at, and that it's your why is as equal as important of how and what you do. Where are you now? I know I've recently. I should have put this up. I just didn't put it in my back office here in this platform, but I know you're rebranding and you've done some logo work, and I know you put that out there, get opinions and get people's feedback on that. But where are you now? What are you doing for yourself? Where do you see yourself, your entrepreneurial spirit, your mission, your purpose, and those type? What are the things that you're targeting immediately as well as long term?
Yes, right now I have 20 clients that I build websites for and managing on a monthly recurring basis. So essentially 24/7, I'm looking after the site and updating it, tweaking it whenever they need. And I would like to grow that to about 40 to 50. That way I'm able to keep that personalized service in nature. I was just right before we came out, I was writing, like Christmas thank you notes to everybody, and like so that's something that to me, gives that personal touch that if I had 200 clients, I don't know if I could give that same level of personalized service. So that I want to keep it like 40 to 50 personalized service, and then right now I just launched on the 4-year anniversary of my dad's passing, launched a podcast called Business in Boardshorts. And you'll see over here on my shoulder, I got a nice print of the ocean. And so I feel really called to the ocean and plan to live by the ocean one day. But this podcast is a way for me to talk to entrepreneurs and business owners all throughout the coast of the U.S. and kind of see where I jive. So, and it can feed into the business as well. And I like that aspect, but really being able to kind of build my own tribe, my own community of like-minded entrepreneurs. And we all have this love of the ocean, but then we all enjoy being our own bosses as well. So that's kind of where I'm at right now and where I want to go.
The ocean, first of all, I remember when you were talking about your branding and what do you call the shorts?
Board shorts, which if I can talk about that for a second.
Is that like see, I have no clue. Okay. Board shorts. Is that one of the things you jump on? Surfboards?
It's like board shorts. It's not a swimsuit, but it's not like, cargo shorts. It's kind of like an in between. So you can go in and out of the water quickly and they dry really fast. You can wear them surfing, or the reason why, and this is sort of the impetus for the whole podcast idea and the title of it, is when I met you, that was the first networking event I ever went to. And I'm sitting there in freaking polo and board shorts. And that's just because that's just me. I'm just being comfortable. I'm just being me. So that's my whole deal. I'm just being me, and you can take it or leave it. And I want to work with people that jive with that, and see the value in what I bring, and I value them as clients, and it's a perfect fit.
I think that's part of your brand, right? I mean, who we are. I've known some people in the local community that have a military background and they wear the camouflage things, Andy Wines, for example. No matter where you see him speak in front of a big corporate audience, he's in his fatigues, his green camouflage. And that's his brand. That's who he is. And so, yeah, and I think that's important that you differentiate yourself, and that's who you are. You have a passion for a little of this, right? The ocean. And
yes, I do.
So I put that up because I resonate with water. I'm from the West Coast, San Francisco Bay Area, and I love the ocean. Used to scuba dive and all that type of stuff, and so I resonate. You resonate with the water. I know you want.
Yeah, there's something about it. It's just extremely rejuvenating, calming, peaceful. There's nothing like it. Yeah, the first time I felt it, I was in the Bahamas, and there was something about the water and the waves there that I was like, you can just tape me to this chair, and I'll just sit here for the next 24 hours, and I'm good. I'm just like super content, and ever since then, any chance that I can get near the ocean, obviously more difficult to do here in Wisconsin. But when I can travel and get to the coast, I try to do it anytime I can.
Well, we're fortunate, it's called a Lake Michigan, yeah. But at certain days it does look like the ocean, right? Yeah. In the weather. So I totally agree. I resonate with water, and there's a lot of reasons why people resonate with, the mountains or whatever, but water, the bigger the body of the water, the more peaceful I am.
Yeah.
But I'll take a brook over a desert anytime. So
yeah,
I totally. So your podcast. So tell us about your podcast and how do people find your podcast? Where do you feature your podcast, and what type of audience are you targeting, and what type of people are you looking to bring on? Because out here, there might be some people that says, I think I want to have CT interview me. So why don't you go ahead and share your vision with your podcasting and why you do it and that type of thing.
Yep. So it's strictly interviews with coastal entrepreneurs and business owners. So to me, that's kind of like maybe half an hour from a coast, and it could be anywhere from the state of Washington, to Cali, to Texas, Florida, up the East Coast to Maine, kind of anywhere and everywhere in between. And I feel a calling to the ocean, but yet I don't know where. And I'm not somebody that just is going to go look at, a top 10 best, beach towns to live in and pick number 3, and I'm going to go live there. Like, I need to really feel a calling or an urge. And so to me, this is a way to mix the business, because I love entrepreneurship. I could talk to entrepreneurs all day, but also feel out the vibe of each of the different locations and kind of, see where I jive with best. So the conversations, the interviews are just, 15 to 20 minutes, very genuine, down to earth. There's no crazy business lingo. And to me, I just want to make them laid back and get a feel of where they're located, talk about their current business, and kind of hit on their mindset and, best business advice, life advice. So it's a business podcast, but it's not necessarily all business. I try to throw some personal items in there as well, just so that we get a good sense of everybody that comes on, and a little bit of a unique angle.
Sort of the podcasting. I remember when I was introduced to podcasting 4 or 5 years ago, I was freaked out. There's no way that I could talk like that, like with a microphone and not see somebody, or put me in front of a stage, put me on stage. I'm pretty good with that. Yeah. And then I was introduced to this platform, streaming. This is sort of the combination of both, right? I don't have a face I have a face for radio, but
that's what I was told too. Yeah.
So that sort of leads back to when you were in college and sort of that fantasy. I want to become a broadcaster, that type of thing. That stuck with you, and look what's happening. You are basically, podcasting is like your own personal radio station.
Yeah. That's how I explain it too. It's basically a radio show, when at its core. And I'm totally with you. Yeah, it's cool to see that, something that I did enjoy kind of come back full circle. And I've done, I guess the thing too is that I've been on enough podcasts, and I manage a couple of podcast websites. So I've seen the good and the bad, the pros and cons, so I always just thought, if I did it for myself, and I would do it this way, or I would do it that way. And then to see that all come together is really, really cool. And I'm enjoying it. So I'm only a couple, I think we would just release episode number 3 this week. So it's a weekly show every Wednesday. And I'm excited to keep it going. And to be honest with you, I do see that as some kind of service offering in the future, because I really do enjoy every aspect of it. And I believe that a podcast doesn't need to be this highly produced 3-hour show and you're spending, a boatload of time editing. It can really, you can streamline it, and make it work for you, but not be a time suck at the same time. So I'm going to keep going with it. I feel really good about it, and excited to see where it goes. Cause I have absolutely no idea where I'll be a year from now, but I know that I'll be talking to about 50 more, coastal entrepreneurs, and it'll be exciting to see where those relationships take me.
Wonderful. Some of those visions we have when we're young, if we keep them close to us, they may manifest themselves differently than you originally visioned. And so I just wanted to go back to that, because you're also now you have your own TV program going on right now with streaming. So you can get the best of both worlds going here, create your brand and get out there and And where do you post your podcast? I know there's so many resources out there. How can people find you?
Yeah, so the easiest way would just go to my website, ctkaupp.com. I have a link in the top menu that can go right to the podcast, or you can just go ctkaupp.com/podcast. That'll give you the nuts and bolts. You can listen to the episodes there, or just search Business in Boardshorts on Google. Search it wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm in all the major directories. And if you listen to podcasts in a certain one that I am not on, please let me know, because as far as I'm aware, I'm kind of anywhere and everywhere. So as long as you just search the name, it'll come up. And that's the best way to find it. Where I post it, besides my website, LinkedIn and Instagram are the two main sources.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So it's having a voice, and it's with the technology we have today, the power of our phone, and the power of the internet, and the power of technology is that we can produce our own gig, right? Mm-hmm. And who would ever think of that 10 years ago, right? Have your own radio show or your own live stream. People didn't know what live streaming was.
Yeah.
Live streaming is only 7, 8 years old, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Specifically. So because you're doing it, what advice would you give other business? Because you're in business, you're building websites, you're exercising a platform to, create your brand, connect with those that resonate with water and board shorts, all that. What would you recommend to other businesses that they do? Should they be doing a podcast and live streaming and those type of things to enhance their brand? What type of advice would you give?
The main thing I would say is don't just do it to do it. Don't just create a podcast or a live stream to say that you're doing it. You do it for 3 weeks or 3 episodes and then you're done. Make sure that whatever you're going to do is consistent. I guess just like working out, don't just do it for 3 weeks. And I mean, I'll just say it right now, like the guy I had on episode number 1, at the end of it, I said, I'd love to have you on for episode 200. And like, I firmly believe that it's going to get to episode 200, 300, whatever it is. It is not, there's no part of me that goes, I want to do this for a year and be done. I only know how to do things one speed, one way, and that's 150% all in. So that's how I view it. And I want everybody that would want to venture into the podcast space to have that same philosophy. Take the long-term approach. Don't just do it for a few weeks, a few months, or a year. Make sure it's something that you want to do long-term.
Yeah. Good advice. That's sort of what I'm learning. I'm enrolled through some of my business colleagues, and I think that's important. As you get expanded in business, you start being influenced and seeing people are doing things in a bigger way. And, success leaves clues.
Yeah.
And, if you want to grow, and you've grown since I've met you, I still see it to this day, how shy you were. And today you're doing a live stream, you're doing podcasting. I've seen you at other events. You're mingling with people. Besides your dad and the influence he gave you, that foundation, your character and who you are.
Yeah.
Who are some of the other people that have, whether it could be business leaders or coaches or books you've read? What are some of the things that you draw to grow with? Some of those influences, if you could.
Yeah, I think one of my biggest influences is Brendon Burchard, who's like a high performance, or that's like one of his areas. He's a writer, but High Performance Habits is one of his latest books. And I really enjoyed that and like into the personal self-development realm. And I would say about a year before, or maybe not even, maybe like as I started the business, I started diving into personal development more and more. So learning, what makes me tick and why I do things the way I do. Like when I would go to a business event, like where we met, I come home and I'm completely drained because I'm an introvert, and that just drains my battery to no end, drains my energy. So just knowing the different things that why you do what you do, why this affects you a certain way or that does, what brings you joy, fulfillment, happiness, all of that stuff. Once you can get deep and you realize that, to me, life can get pretty easy, or a lot easier than just trying to, compare yourself to everybody and that whole comparison game, or just going with the flow. And so I guess I've always just been, do things my own way, go to the beat of my own drum, but being able to figure that out was really helpful. When we first met, like, I didn't have a clue what I was supposed to do. I had never been to anything like that. But just you get more used to it as time goes on, and just get more comfortable with yourself.
Yeah. And I think what you just shared there me being in the personal development and the space, and been coaching for the last 5 years, almost 6 years now. And what I see, those that are growing in many ways, but we're talking about business specifically, they are all into personal development. Because it's here, and in here is going to be the determined factor for your success, your belief system, your self-image, your confidence, all those things. Plus, what your dad gave you some foundational things that you just have built on. But thank you for sharing that, because I definitely encourage, because I see it all the time. You see people struggling in business, and they're looking for a better website. They're looking for a system. They're looking for a gadget or whatever it might be. They may be looking, I got to do streaming. They're comparing themselves to other people. And as you mentioned, that those are things, is that when those that are succeeding, they are studying themselves and studying other successful people, and even get coaching. So thanks for sharing with that, because success leaves clues.
Yeah, I love that quote. Yeah.
Success leaves clues. And when we look, I'm a business guy. My wife and I, we have 4 to 5 different businesses. And my success isn't based on my knowledge. There's a whole lot of people smarter than me, I guarantee you. But it's through the years of experience, learning. But where I really grew, and you may be able to relate to this, is when I started studying personal development. Then I recognized, you saw my video, right? What was really holding me back? My self-image, my learning. I use those as crutches for reasons not to live to my fullest potential. So I congratulate. I would just encourage you, and you encourage you be an influencer, say, hey, listen, I'm having success in my life, not because of this, but because of this, the personal development. I think that's a good advisory thing that you would want to share.
Yeah, I feel like the mindset is the foundation for everything else, whether it's a business, whether it's a relationship. Like it's got to start there, to me. Otherwise, I feel like it's not a rock solid foundation. Like it'll crumble at some point.
Absolutely. Yeah. You can't build a castle on sand, right?
Yeah.
You need bedrock, and that's your belief system, your self-image, your confidence, all those things, understanding how fear is dictating how we operate, and being in control of our thoughts. So you mentioned one book. Any other Burchard, you mentioned anybody else that you turn to, or that you resonate with, that moves you into the direction you want to go?
Yeah, I would say a podcast called Finding Mastery, and it's by Dr. Michael Gervais. He's the sports psychologist for the Seattle Seahawks, and what started with me listening to his podcast just because he was interviewing, I think it was the president of the Seahawks, which doesn't get a lot of pub. So it was just interesting to kind of get the guy's perspective. But at the time I'm going, who is this guy like hosting this? Who's asking these questions? Because they were just like, they were a lot deeper questions than, the typical surface level stuff. And so that turned me on to Gervais, and he's awesome guy. Again, seems super genuine, authentic. I've never met him or haven't yet to this point, but that's always what I gravitate to. And they're just always insightful conversations, and you can take something away. So again, the personal development angle, I enjoy I enjoy whether it's reading or listening, watching, whatever, to things that you can take something away and apply it to your own life. It's not just like rah, 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 motivational stuff that, there's tactical things that you can take and apply.
Okay. Wonderful. Great insight. You're a young man with aged wisdom. I would put it in those categories. So, I've seen you grow. I've seen what you're doing. You have a focus for perfection, because I know that your emblem and your logoing and all that type of stuff is spot on, and I know that's part of who you are. But parting here, anything else you'd like to leave with the audience in regards to our conversation today, whether it be the website thing or podcasting or personal, any one closing point that you want to leave? And then we do have an offer as well, so we'll put that up.
Yeah, I would just say to spend some time and think about a podcast, if it makes sense for your particular area. There's a bajillion podcasts coming out every day. And if you start here in the next, say, 6 months, you'll be a lot further ahead than if you start 2 years from now. And there's literally, as far as I can tell, there's no other podcast that's talking to coastal business owners. So if you can create something that's like your own niche, which is not necessarily always in my plan. I just wanted to do it because I love it. But then the more I looked into it, I was like, well, geez, maybe there's actually like a little niche here. That's cool. But also if you go, hey, I want to start this podcast, and you look and there's some others that are similar in the space, you can still do it because your voice is going to be unique than to everybody else's. So I would just say to spend some time and think about it, because I really think it's not going to go away. People enjoy that medium. And so to dive in now or in the near future would be beneficial.
Yeah. Well, good. We do have something here that people can. Why don't you explain your offer, what that means?
Yeah.
It's no obligation, of course. It's just strictly, if they resonate with a solution you offer, they'll know how to make that decision. But what is a website audit?
Yeah. So
I got 5 pages. That's all I know.
Yeah. No, this is for anybody that's curious to see kind of like where your website is right now. I'll look at everything from the design, the look and feel, the ease of use on mobile, the design angle, but as well as the back end, how is it optimized for search engines, for people that are Googling to find your business. I'm trying to look at it objectively and tell you exactly where you stand. It could be great, and I'll tell you that, or there could be some blind spots, and I'd recommend, okay, improving this, improving that, updating this. And so like it's here, like it's there on the screen, completely free. And it's just to give you a perspective on where your website currently is and where you can grow with it.
Yeah, and his website's there, and of course you have a contact page. Yep. And you can hear your podcast by going to their /podcast, and I just encourage people to do that. I know I'm going to. I didn't before coming on. Maybe I should have as an interviewer, but definitely going to do that myself because I know you bring value to the audience. So
appreciate it.
My friend, I appreciate you being here today.
Thank you very much for having me.
And I'm going to have you back if you'd like to be back. Just like you said, maybe my 200th.
Yeah.
I've been doing every Friday for almost 3 months now. And, it's that little things, that consistency. A lot of times you say, well, gee, we only had one or two people stop in today, but you never know where it goes, right? And who's listening.
Yeah. I can say one thing quick. I always am talking about the long game, and you never know where you don't know if you have to touch somebody 30 times with different posts on social or online before they want to talk to you or buy into something that you're offering. And I just want to give a real life example because this happened just the other day. I met somebody at an event in Austin, Texas, back about a year and a half ago, and we talked a few times there. And then maybe every once in a while, maybe every 6 months or whatever, just kind of catch up, see how things are going. And then he saw some things that I posted on Facebook, liked it, and reached out earlier this week to talk about redoing his website. And so it's like, you never know the cycle on that and whether that's going to take 2 weeks or 2 years or anywhere in between. So it was just really cool because that's what I believe, and to see that actually happen was neat.
Cool. That as a business person, it's the seeds you plant are the ones that give you the greatest harvest.
Yep.
Yeah. So congratulations, and having the wisdom to recognize it's the long game that's going to carry your fundamentals and consistency, and knowing who you are and what you bring to the table as a business person is the most important thing than what you do. No matter what you do, you're going to be successful because you're grounded within yourself. So. Yeah. Well, I'm going to put you in my green room. I hope you enjoy the M&Ms.
Yeah.
There aren't any M&Ms. For the audience out there, I don't. There's a little joke that streamers use. So I appreciate. I'm going to put you in the, and I'm going to wrap up and stick on just for a couple minutes and a couple things I'd like to share with you. And
sounds good.
We'll go from there. So I'm going to put you in the back office here. That's CT Kaupp. Again, good-looking young man, loves the water. Highly recommend that you reach out to him and find out more about what he can help you with in the area of podcasting, as well as website development, wherever the case may be. So, Friday, I'll be back tomorrow with Saturday's recap, the week. Now, I was overwhelmed this week, and I'm grateful for it. So I didn't do a daily snippet, but today's talk was Namaste in the ABCs of attitude. And Namaste is bow. I bow to you. Being humble. And CT mentioned that today. It's amazing when we see people that are living in a place of humility, how they grow and how the world delivers to them in a different way. So G is for gratitude. I thank everybody for being here. Turn on your notifications for the next episode. Tag your friends with it. Share it on out. And if you're looking to become a guest on G-Force, and I'm open to have dialogue, you can reach out to me and contact me through my website. Shoot me an email through my contact, and I'd be glad to talk to you about being a guest on G-Force. And so I look forward to that opportunity. Everybody have a blessed day. I'm grateful for this moment, and I'm grateful for CT. So have a great day. Talk with you soon. We're signing out.